Hello, for section 10.2, we're going to do the volume and surface area of cylinders. So again, we're going to skip the experiment because we're doing this on a video. And we're going to jump right to the notes. So a cylinder has two circular bases, or two circled bases, that are connected. And this is not a polyhedron because it has that rounded edges. So that is what a cylinder is. And then we have our height, which is going all the way up, and then our radius is half of the length across the circle. If you're given the diameter, your radius is going to be equal to the diameter divided by 2. So that's what you would need to know in order to find the surface area and volume of a cylinder. When we're finding the volume of a cylinder, we're going to take 2 times the area of the base, which is a circle, plus the circumference times the height. But to make that easier for us, we're going to plug in everything we know to get the formula 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. And that's the formula we're going to be using for surface area. So we're going to have 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. So we only have to figure out the radius and the height of a cylinder in order to find the surface area. If we look at example 1, the radius is going to be 4, and then the height of the cylinder, the distance between the two circles, is going to be 5. So we're going to plug that right into our area formula. 4 squared plus 2 pi. Our radius was 4 and our height was 5. So sometimes you're going to have to give your answer in terms of pi. And to do that, you are just going to type everything into your calculator except for the pi button. So you want to make sure you get the radius squared and the plus sign, because a lot of times that's what people forget when they type it into their calculator. So we're going to type everything except for pi, the same way that it showed up on our formula. So we're going to have 2 times 4 squared plus 2 times 4 times 5. And we're going to get 72. So our surface area is going to be 72 pi, and that's going to be meters squared. If you're asked to round the answer, then you're just going to type 72 into your calculator with the pi button following it. So then you would get your surface area is about equal to 226.2 meters squared. So if it asks in terms of pi, you'll give the top answer. So terms of pi. And if it asks you to round, you would give the bottom answer. Okay, so let's do our next example. For this one, they want us to find the height of the cylinder, and they gave us the surface area. So we're going to put 198.8 equal to our surface area formula, and we know our radius is 2.8. So we're going to have 2 pi times 2.8 squared plus 2 pi times 2.8 again times our height. Now our goal here is to get our height by itself. So we're going to take 198.8 and put that equal to. And we need to figure out what this is going to equal. So we're going to take 2 pi times 2.8 squared. And because this is not our final answer, we're going to round to 4 decimal points. So we're going to 49.2602 plus, and then we're going to figure out what this part equals in front of the h. So we're going to type in 2 pi times 2.8, and that gives us about 17.5929h. Now this is just like any other equation, and you can type it into your calculator when you're solving. So we're going to subtract the 49.2602 on both sides. So we're going to take 198.8 minus 49.2602. That will give us 149.2602 17.5398 is equal to 17.5929H. In our last step, we're going to divide both sides by the 17 part, and that will give us our approximate height. So we're going to take this answer and we're going to divide that by 17.5929. Now, because this is our final answer, we can round it to 1 decimal point. So we're just going to do 8.5 is about equal to our height. And there we go. That's our answer. So that's how you can work backwards to find a missing measurement of a cylinder. All right. So then next for our volume, we would take the area of the base times height. And the area of a circle is pi r squared. So the formula that you are going to be given is pi r squared height. So this will be given to you, and you just need to know how to use it. So for our volume, we're going to take pi times the radius, which is 5 in this example, and we're going to multiply that by the height of 6. And again, if we want it in terms of pi, we're going to type everything into our calculator except for pi. And when we do that, we're going to get 150 pi times meters cubed because it is volume. So then our next example, if we're going to find the volume of a right cylinder, they gave us the volume of 1,253, we're going to put that equal to our volume formula. They gave us our height, but we're looking for the radius. So we're going to do pi r squared times our height of 10. And we're going to start solving. So we know we need to get rid of that 10, so we can divide both sides by 10. And when we do that, we're going to get 125.3 equals pi r squared. Then we need to get rid of that pi, so we're going to divide both sides by pi. So 125.3 divided by pi. And that gives us that r squared is about 39.8842. And that's about equal to r squared. And our final step to figure out what just r is, we're going to take the square root, 39.8842. So we get about 6.3 for our radius. And that's our answer. Now, sometimes we're going to be working with right cylinders or oblique cylinders and prisms that are slanted. And we have the Cavalier's principle, and that tells us if the solids have the same height and the same cross-sectional area, so the same area of the bases, at every level, then they're going to have the same volume. So these three shapes all have the same volume because they have the exact same height, and the area of this cross-section, B, is the same in all of them. So they would all have the same volume. That tells us even if we have an oblique cylinder, we can still use our volume formula that we were using. So for this one, to find the volume of an oblique cylinder, for example 5, we know the volume formula for a cylinder is pi r squared height. So even though this is not a right cylinder, we're still going to use the exact same formula. So we're going to do pi times the radius of 5 squared times the height of 8. And again, if we want this to be in terms of pi, we would do 5 squared times 8 to get 200 pi. If we're asked to give the rounded answer, we would just type 200 pi into our calculator to get about 628.3. And this would be inches cubed. And that's our answer. Okay. Our next example, we're going to find the volume of the solid. So you'll look, this one has a cylinder cut out of it. So to find the volume, we're going to take the volume of the outer cylinder and we're going to subtract the inner cylinder. So we know volume is pi r squared height. So we need to find our radius and height of both. So looking at the outside one, the radius is 3 and the height is 7. So we can plug that into our formula, pi times 3 squared times our height of 7. And then we have our inner one that we're subtracting, and our inner radius is 1, and the height is 7. So we're going to have pi times 1 squared times our height of 7. And again, if we want this in terms of pi, we're going to type everything into our calculator, including the minus sign, except for the pi. So we're going to type the highlighted portion into the calculator. We'll have 3 squared times 7 minus 1 squared, which is 1. So if you didn't put that, that would still give you the same answer. And we would get that our volume is equal to 56 pi. And if they want the rounded answer, we would just take 56 pi into our calculator and get about 175.9. And our label would be millimeters cubed. And that's our answer. So that's how you would find the surface area and volume of a cylinder.